So to start our actual weaving, because we're not using this waist, we're going to not weave in the guides. So what you can do is you can take a Sharpie and just mark those off so that you know that you're not weaving those and that they're just there to see where you're, like if you're pulling in too much or going too far out, like over these. That's really what they're there for. To get started with the bottom of your weaving, we're going to do what's called twining. So you're going to need your warp thread again, and you're going to measure 1, 2 times across, and then give yourself a little extra. And I'll just give you enough space to complete this. Okay, so we're going to take our warp thread that we've created for our twining, and we're not going in the guides. So we're actually going to start on this second warp thread in. So I'm going to take the 2 ends. I'm taking the right warp end behind. I'm going to take the 2 ends together, pull that down. You can see it's wrapping around. I'm going to leave the right side down. Let's see if I can get closer. And I'm going to take the left side and I'm going to go over the second warp thread under the third. So I'm going to pick up that third warp thread and take that through like so. Push that down. All right, so now you can see I have a left and a right, new right. I'm going to take the left and I'm going to just do that same thing where I go over this warp thread now, which is 1 over, and then under the next one. So I'm going under this warp thread. So I'm just going to pull that through. You can see we're just covering 1 warp thread at a time. So now I have the right down. I take the left and I go over this warp thread and then under the next warp thread. And we just keep doing this all the way across. Leave the right down, take the left over that warp thread under the next. Leave the right down, take the left over that warp thread under the next. Leave the right down, or the one that we just did, and then take the one that we didn't do over the warp thread under the next. Now we're going to leave that one down and take the other one over that warp thread under the next. And you just keep doing that. Left goes over and under, right stays down, left goes over and under, and then you keep that one down, and you take the other one over and under, leaving that down, taking this one over and under, going in front of that warp that they're both going around, and then behind the next one. I'm just repeating that till you get till the end, which we're almost at here. Okay, so once I get to that point, I'm not going to include the guide, but I'm on that last warp thread. I'm going to pull these through, And you could tie this here, and then you could sew the ends up once you, like after you've finished weaving, you could sew these ends up, or you could just leave it. But a friend of mine recently told me a Damascus knot is actually a better way to end this, so we're gonna do a Damascus knot. So to do a Damascus knot, you take this string like this, where you're creating a reverse D, and then you pull it through. And you just take the other one and do the same thing. Reverse D, and then pull that through. And then you can just tack this in with sewing thread and a needle at the end, or you could sew these up as well, up to you. All right, and that's what your twining should look like. So you can see it's almost like twisting around each warp thread. That's kind of what we're doing.